I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
It is 6 p.m. and you're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I just want to thank you so much out of all the things you could do on this Monday afternoon for taking the time to watch us here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon, and we welcome you into the Room to Room Weather Center on what has been a, dare I say, tolerably hot day. I mean, listen, it's hot, but it's not extremely hot. And we expect that heat, of course, coming up next couple notches, next couple of days. I hate putting question marks on a headline, but I think it's important in this case because one of the things we were looking at on our chat when we were streaming during our 5 o'clock broadcast, I was looking at everyone's so excited about rainfall and the rain chances increase. But maybe this shouldn't be question marks. Maybe it needs to be an asterisk there because while the chances increase, there are still real reasons why we could unfortunately miss out largely in a lot of locations. We will look at that. Heat on the verge of advisory levels, and that's when we're above 105. What I can tell you is I don't see anything out there the next few days that pushes up there 110 to 115 for many locations. And that's one of the things that thankfully I think limits us from having those excessive heat warnings. Hopefully that means certainly the heat is not as strong as it was a couple weeks back. And Erin could become major. Erin is a tropical storm now. It is way out in the Atlantic. It's the one we were looking at last week. It's expected to become a major hurricane. How close does it get to us? We're breaking down that threat. The first 12 hours, though, obviously not talking about the tropics. We have that southeasterly component to the winds. That has helped to bring in a little more moisture, but it's luckily nothing over the top. 88 still temperature at 7 p.m. We're 80 by 10, 77 by 1 o'clock in the morning, and then mid-70s for the first part of early morning Tuesday. Under what will be mainly dry conditions as rain chances try to fight back in. That it's quite the fight. As you can see, it is 90. We're adding 10 to that for the feels like temperature right now in Aberdeen. Looking out, not a lot of vertical development on anything. I mean, even when you get kind of an extended there, that is not a particularly high cloud that you have. So at this instant, looking kind of back toward the east and northeast with those beautiful blue, clear skies at this point here. Similar perspective in 8 to 10 at this time where any of our cumulus clouds fairly flat. We've gone past the peak heating of the day, and that means any mixing where we would have tried to build something has largely failed. One of the reasons why we don't have a lot out there on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, which we'll check out here in a minute. 99 there in 8 to 10, 99 in Batesville, also the temperature 91. A bigger shield of high, thin cirrus cloud blow off from thunderstorms back to the west. That's where moisture is more prevalent. That's where storms are more likely. That's where the pattern is more likely aimed toward that. But as you can see on Mississippi Live Weather Radar on kind of the closer perspective here, that is not something that many of us have. I'm going to take this to a much wider perspective. We're going to go all across the United States here. As you can see, plenty of storms back out on the plains. That's where there is out that direction more of a severe weather threat. I show that day one severe weather risk. That's for locations on the plains. That's where that kind of active weather is going to stay over the course of the next few days here. As I put on our cloud cover here on our satellite perspective, big blow up of thunderstorms there. But what you don't even see, I mean, I show our next front all the way up there in the Dakotas. I mean, we show that's 900 miles away. That's not going to get here, so maybe I'm overplaying it to say our next front, but the nearest front, probably the better way to describe it. So this pattern is all jammed up. As it has been recently, high pressure out here in the Atlantic is the story. That's kind of, again, this big ridge that extends all across the region still in place there. As a result, we're kind of in this spot in between. It's going to bring it in here a little closer, and we'll do our southeastern U.S. view here. You have all this thunderstorm activity to the south, and though if you look extremely closely, I'll just hold my finger right there, you can see our boundary here. Again, that stalled kind of trough of low pressure where things are a little more active, that is south. And while it's trying to slip northward, I have very low confidence that we're going to get much off of that. So our rain chances next couple days, certainly much, much better just to the south and east. You can even see that on our future cast overnight. Again, close to where that boundary is, New Orleans, Mobile, back toward Montgomery, there are rain chances. And then back on the plains where there's severe weather. And we're just kind of in this spot in between where, yes, we would take it. I mean, I assume we take it. I know I take it at my house. We need some rainfall. We're very dry and drought's expanding. Unfortunately, it just doesn't look like that's in the cards for us. Again, most of the rainfall back out to the east. Note you do have, and you can kind of see, this is where our questions come for rain chances tomorrow. Down here toward the coast, even in the morning, some of these showers kind of rolling in, and there's this weak disturbance there. That is expected to kind of head out this direction, unfortunately, and not toward us up in the northern part of the state. So that just unfortunately does not really work to our benefit in this case. But the fact that we do have that onshore flow maybe could enhance the slightest of rain chances. That's where the rain chances come tomorrow. And Gabe and I discussed it. We left the 30 in just in case, but the last couple of times we've had this scenario, we have not yielded much moisture, and unfortunately the pattern has gone dry, and hopefully that's not the way this works out. But 74 in the morning to start your day as the kids not off to school. Certainly short sleeves necessary by afternoon. Not that you need me to tell you. I think the last couple of days have told you that pretty well. And maybe a slightly better chance for some rain chances for tomorrow afternoon to possibly evening, and that depends on how that moisture comes in. Certainly our futurecast is aggressive, and we'll look at those projections here in a minute, but that 91 still feeling like it's over 100. And again, those high heat indices are once again bringing back the extreme levels on that wet bulb globe temperature. It's not for everybody. We're targeting where that's most likely with complete forecast coming up here live from the Room to Room Weather Center on Mississippi Live Weather at 6, right after this.
At Room to Room, did you know our specialty is custom ordered upholstery? Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
Your family deserves the most beautiful smile possible. At Tupelo Smiles, we use precision dentistry and advanced technology to make visiting the dentist an amazing experience. Relationship-based comprehensive care. Come discover the difference at Tupelo Smiles.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lawpon.
Welcome back here to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon, and not a lot of meaningful cloud cover out there, at least none that's going to yield much in the way of precipitation over the course of the next day or so. Chances get a little better for tomorrow, but as we look back toward our camera there in Smithville, showing again few puffy clouds. 298. If you ever wonder what direction we're looking, most of these cameras either have an arrow down here or they have this. A lot of times they'll say northwest, so we're looking northwest out of that. Generally speaking, back towards southern Lee County, those clouds fairly flat. High thin clouds, again, blow off from other people's yesterday and earlier today's storms. Not something for us. Edinburgh right now, that of course in the southern portion of the area coming in about 90 degrees, feels like about 97, and just that little bit of cloud cover out there. And certainly at this point here, fairly light wind speeds. In Macon, coming in with that mix of cloud cover. And again, we're looking west at this time. Sun at the top of your screen there. You probably know sun going down a little bit earlier day by day. It's something I try not to think about this time of year. Personally, I don't like it when it's dark at, 1:45 in the afternoon. Obviously slayer in that, but that's just the Lawpon exaggeration there. Anyway, 93 temperature, feels like temperature in Macon, one of our cooler spots at 88 degrees. School bus forecast for tomorrow at pickup in the morning will be about 75, drop off 91, and then that maybe chance for rainfall. Odds are very good that the kids are dry. They don't need the rain gear. There is that limited chance of a few pop-up showers. Let's be perfectly clear, I'm not sending my kids out the door with additional anything for tomorrow because the storms are spotty. And typically with spotty storms, they're really heavy when you're under them. So if you get under one, it's going to come down to big hurtly. Better chances in the afternoon to evening. Gabe, our icon, is definitely overselling it. I believed you clicked save there, but we're overselling it here. We'll call this an optimistic forecast on that. See, I've insulted him. He's going to fix that. Sorry. Okay, at 91 degrees, the high temperature for tomorrow in the afternoon there, as you can see, with heat indices expected to be in excess of 100 degrees for a lot of spots. Rain chances peaking on Wednesday, but none of these get particularly impressive. Maybe up to around 40% or so, best case scenario. So we'll say the most optimistic view possible here on some rain chances next few days. I'm picking at you, Gabe. You have done
it. It's all fixed now.
I know. It's your.
Give us like the update.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to go back one.
Oh,
Well,
no,
hold on. Let's go back one more after that. Ah, you got this one. Hey, well, wait, hey, you know what? Computers take their time. So there we are. There's a more reasonable percentage. And yes, could there be a rogue thunderstorm tomorrow? Yes. Does our main futurecast try to predict a few more than we think? Yes. And that's where that came from a second ago. So we'll look at that in detail. And this, yeah.
That needs to change.
I know. We'll look at why that's not updating there. We'll say 20% to maybe 30% for tomorrow and slightly better for Wednesday. Clearly, though, most of the next 7 days, those rain chances are unimpressive. And that, of course, goes for this evening as we are dry and clear across most of North Mississippi and Northwest Alabama. So kind of wider shot continues to show, again, rainfall back out to the west, up into Tennessee, out into Alabama. Promise there's no dome of protection. Well, I guess you could argue a dome of high pressure kind of is. But in this case, the positioning of everything is just wrong for rain chances. That's why we're not going to see it as we're dry and clear heading through the overnight hours into the first part of early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Those low temperatures expected to be pleasant. I mean, listen, this is a little above our normal. We typically should be somewhere around 72 to 73. So, I mean, we're close. About 74, that starting temperature in Cleveland, Clarksdale, and Greenwood. There is that time in the morning where I think we've dried out enough. Could there be dew? Yes, there'll be dew on the grass. But is it probable that we need to do some lawn mowing, maybe even the Law Pond house? I got something scheduled for tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'd be out there doing it at least early. If you're going to do it, that's time period. Again, even when the hottest days, we have some moments that are bearable in the morning. So clouds increasing as we go through your day. Tuesday, mid-morning to early afternoon, we are still dry and we are still partly cloudy. Notice our futurecast here tries to start breaking out a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms. Highly optimistic that we end up seeing these. But again, it's not impossible that we get some going down south that try to expand in. But even there, let's just widen it too wide for a moment. Not because I'm trying to point out something, but just look, oh look, rain out here. Rain down here, rain even up here, and out there. And over top of us, none. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's not exactly a positive pattern for the likelihood of rain over the next couple of days. And even through tomorrow, our main futurecast model, the highest resolution one we could show you, has a couple, but that's where that maybe 20% comes in. So before we get our hopes up, let's temper that because I'm not impressed by what we're seeing. And who knows, maybe we'll jinx it in the happening. 96, the high temperature in Greenville and Belzona for tomorrow. 94 degrees in Grenada. One thing that sometimes happens is as we day by day bubble out some of this moisture and we don't add additional to it, we start kind of seeing those temperatures spike a little higher. We're not there yet, but that could be the trend if we have a lesser quantity of rainfall than what we're showing you a moment ago there. That could allow some of these temperatures to get a little bit hotter. High temperatures for the heat index, 97 Tupelo and Amory, 99 in Houston, 96 for Starkville and Columbus. Coming about 105 though, Greenwood, 106 Cleveland, 105 Clarksdale and Greenville. We can argue you're about at heat advisory levels on your Tuesday. I think we're probably going above that threshold by Wednesday. We will look at that again in just a moment. Now, Futurecast here, again, highly optimistic on our strike model. I mean, listen, I'm okay with the whole heavy dose of optimism, but let's just keep in mind that, again, the majority of this, even on this shot here, you can see is just to the west of the area. So while not impossible to get to some isolated showers, it's not coming from our nearest front. That's stalling out once again. That happens a lot during August, so that's no big shock there. And most of the more meaningful rainfall with this disturbance down closer to the coast. Now notice how early morning on your Wednesday, this tries to depict a couple isolated showers trying to get going up here. Again, I think highly optimistic, but what that does is that will send out a little boundary, and that could be a focal point for additional development of some thunderstorms. See how noontime on Wednesday, it has some developing? If that early morning batch develops, then we'll start to have more in the afternoon. So notice how that's an if. It's kind of like, and I'm a bad dad like this sometimes, it's like, if you clean your room, you'll get ice cream. Well, why didn't we get ice cream tonight? Did you clean your room? No. So if we get the morning showers, then it's more likely that we get some of those afternoon ones to try to form as well. And notice again, Thunderstorms south. These expand in with a boundary of rain-cooled air. And when we go into your Wednesday afternoon, we start looking at fairly expansive rain chances. And we do have fairly expansive rain chances depicted here on Futurecast. It all starts from something that's kind of a big if statement. I think the stuff coming from the south, I feel the most confident in. We'll see if it can hold together all the way here. But the reason you have so much widespread rainfall depicted there by Wednesday at 9 p.m. is you had the initial morning storms and whatever that leaves behind, and then stuff coming from the coast. With just one of those, the coverage will be more limited. Here's hoping. I need rainfall, and you see how it then expands back toward the south and west. Again, I'd say highly optimistic. At 10 o'clock, we will obviously have an amended version of that probably is a little more tempered. Hopefully it's not the case. Hopefully it holds true. And of course, we'll be looking for that for Mississippi Live weather at 10. High temperatures for your Wednesday, expected to be lower to mid-90s, very similar to tomorrow. And the heat index, very similar to tomorrow, up around 100 for many locations, most locations, at least within a couple degrees of that, with our hottest values out Clarksdale and back into the Delta. Revisiting that wet bulb globe temperature here by Wednesday, notice we have some of those spots in the extreme category. And a reminder, that means no outdoor activities where you're really exerting yourself should be done in this situation. Wednesday, kind of seeing a peak on that as moisture values get a little bit higher. By Thursday, more sporadic, but by Friday, expanding a bit more, and that does expand from more of our area into the high with even a couple little spots here. And again, we expect these to change as we get closer, but a couple little spots out here into West Alabama, also to that extreme level. So a reminder that this is still that time of year where we expect that potential for heat injury to be a problem, and certainly for locations back out in the Delta, the greatest potential to have that into the latter part of this week. That's where, again, more moisture tends to, with the terrain, with the agriculture, be more plentiful that direction. But we also see the effects of this drought in North Mississippi. That's the only reason why this isn't higher. High temperatures will be higher by the weekend, but the moisture values, if we don't see a wholesale change in the atmosphere, the air, what we have out there, then what happens is we're drier. And so I'm not saying that this is necessarily a dry heat at 95, but drier air allows that temperature to poke up a little more. And so that's what makes it more bearable. And when you sweat, it might actually cool you down just a little bit. So on this 7-day forecast, again, highly optimistic on the icons here, but the takeaway should be we have some rain chances there. And hopefully, in your case, when we're talking about 30%, that means basically 1 in 3 days. Yes, it could be all 3 days for you, but 30% of the area seeing the coverage of rainfall, meaning 70% left out in our best case scenario. That Wednesday, if everything goes right, we'll say about 40% on that rain coverage. Normal this time of year, about 92, and obviously we are generally within striking distance of that there. Okay, coming up here in 60 seconds, we are looking at the tropics with our meteorologist Gabe Maynor and myself. We're also going to kind of break down Erin, which is now on its way to becoming a hurricane, maybe a major hurricane. That's as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues right after this.
Here is your opportunity to add 2 beautiful guns to your collection and support scouting. Scan the QR code to purchase your chance to win a Browning Citori 725 Sporting Maple over and under 12 gauge shotgun, or a 75th anniversary Boy Scout commemorative Winchester Model 9422 rifle. Support the Natchez Trace Council Scouts with your raffle entries today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Hey, our meteorologist Gabe Maynor here, behind the scenes all day. Joining me now, of course, we're looking at the tropics. Erin, expected to be a major hurricane, right?
Well, and it's not unexpected. We've been tracking it since a week ago. Love weather technology nowadays, the fact we can do that. But yeah, currently a tropical storm and continuing to build. And we really do expect that to strengthen, pushing further into the forecast Tuesday by 1, already at 60 miles an hour. And I realize I'm blocking the screen now. Can we drag it here?
Yeah, go ahead and widen that out a little bit.
There we go. Just going to take it full screen right here to where category 1 possible as we head into our Thursday morning. So it shows that it's just going to take advantage of that atmosphere in the Atlantic, a very primed environment with very little shear and also a lot of warm, moist air. And moving that over, we can see Cat 2 by Friday. And that very next scan, is it going to reach it? Yep, Cat 3, possible. So that's one of the things we're watching. Is this potentially being a major hurricane? And one of the things that it's going to take advantage of is just the right track. And this time of year, a lot of these storms haven't found the right track, and there's always one that does.
So right track and perfect track could be two different things, right?
Exactly.
Trade me sides on this for a second. When next time we build this, remind me, I got to move that. That's the absolute wrong place for me to put all that information. Okay, so notice how when we look at kind of the angle here, I want to bring the U.S. into this. This clearly could still potentially make it to the U.S., right?
A lot of clarifiers there, but you're exactly right.
Not high confidence, but it's not impossible, right?
Exactly. And so the fact that it's starting to take a northern tilt right there shows you what a lot of long track models are suggesting, and that has it staying away from the United States. And that's best case scenario right now.
Absolutely. And so when you look at this cone, this is always where the middle of it should go, right? And so it's conceivable that the middle of it could be way up here on the top end and then kind of just, go way up there and be a long ways away from coast. And still, if you just take the center of this track and you just go straight over it, then maybe it's a possibility. But most indications are it heads north.
Yeah, and both of our long track models that are, give a general idea of what to expect are forecasting that. But here you see on one of our models, this is the future atmospheric moisture, and I don't even have to point this out of where it's projecting it to go. But you can see it taking that northern extent, just probably, what is that? We have our measuring tool, don't we?
I don't know if I can get to it on this one, unfortunately.
We will measure it between shows.
So, but reasonably speaking, if that is about 1,000 miles, I would say we're looking 1,500 miles or so.
Easily,
away from us, and I would say, I would say probably 1,200 miles out there. So, a ways, and it's clearly already at that point about level with South Florida. So we call that a recurve as it kind of takes more of a northern trajectory here. We're hopeful that maybe the overall pattern kind of works in our favor like that.
Yeah, and we call that a good curve because it means that we don't get to experience it. But here's a great view of the vorticity, one of those things that we're talking about, the mid-level winds and the spin that we're seeing with it. And also you get the wind speeds on a couple of these. So whenever it's showing those brighter blues, well, then you know that it's a major storm by that point. And we can see by now.
So that's Aaron there?
That's Aaron. And so it's continuing to progress across the Atlantic. You can see some of those blues start to build. That's probably when it reaches about Cat 1 at that point on our projections. And as it pushes further towards you, I'm not going to get closer to you.
Well, here I'll make it more like this. But even at this point here, you can see it's starting to pick up a wind field. You might ask, with a strong hurricane, why is it not stronger? And it's because we're looking at the wind speeds here way up in the sky, right? And what happens way up there and what happens at the surface should be completely different for a tropical system to mature, and so the strongest winds are at the surface in this case, unlike a jet stream where it's aloft.
Yeah, it pushes together and then rises up in the atmosphere and then spreads out, and that's kind of how you get all of that action happening on the outskirts of that low, and still with counterclockwise motion because we are in the northern hemisphere, so that's why we have that counterclockwise motion with the low starting to get stronger, and you can see some of those bands expanding a good bit out.
Well, and I think this bend here is important because what this is I like to refer to hurricanes as loners, right? they want to be left alone. And sometimes a loner can, well, I don't know, we don't go too get far in that, but ultimately what they do is it starts modifying its environment, right? Like if you had the house, it'd all be Kansas basketball stuff, but then you have Annalise and she's like, well, that needs to go.
Well, 2 years ago, it was a lot of Kansas basketball.
Yeah,
so.
I get it. I have Kansas basketball stuff that's never made it up since I was married as well. But this bend here is it starting to modify its environment, and as it does, the question is how effective is it? Because you can see how that ridge of high pressure, that's what we have here. This is generally higher pressure, is starting to split because of the storm.
And that's the big question going into the storm is that high pressure going to be more dominant to where it keeps it further south? Or is it going to have that split? And then the storm, of course, go right between the two, breaking it in half almost. So that's what we're watching heading into Sunday on the top of your screen. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be key to our forecast going forward because high pressure, we talked about flow, it has a clockwise flow. So if it's following this trend right here, well, then it would keep it basically on that extent right there. So if that break never happens, well, then you're following that all the way into the Caribbean and then possibly the Gulf. But that's like
it's probably not going to happen because, again, what has kept us completely dry the last week and a half, it's been this big ridge, right?
Yes.
And so an expansion in that ridge isn't impossible. We also do have this little trough there that if that can, move eastward, then that will help kind of pick it up as well. How does this compare to Euro? This is the GFS model, and we're going to get a lot nitty gritty as we kind of look at these tropical systems during tropical season. The GFS, sometimes called the American model, this positioning. Where did Euro have this?
Really similar.
Okay.
And the thing is, it also had a similar strength. So that's why we say possible major hurricane and expected major hurricane.
Well, I would say probable at this point.
Yes, because both models are projecting about a 944 millibar low, which I believe is a Cat 3. If we're of course, you base it off wind speeds, not low, but
that's
there's several factors you can look at.
Yes.
And so the fact that both are forecasting that general number showcases that this is going to be a major storm, but both of them having it take that northern extent and then going up probably 500 to 1,000 miles away from the Atlantic coast is a good thing, because that means that both projections are picking up on this break in the high.
Okay, so anytime we keep those major ones out away from us, that's a good sign.
We just want a rain producer. Like, that's all we're asking for.
And a lot of times this time of year, that's what it takes to start breaking our drought, is if we get, something tropical. So it's kind of like we want something weak tropical that just kind of comes inland. We'll see. A long time before that's the case. And so we start running out of data at that point there. So, coming up at 10 o'clock, what we got Mississippi Live weather?
Tracking the latest on the rain chances, and still hopeful. I know you and I both are, but just not really expected too much, unfortunately, with the forecast tomorrow. And that really, tomorrow's forecast is going to be a big driver in our extended forecast, because if that moisture does return, well, then it saturates the environment just a bit more and could produce a few of those pop-up showers.
And we'll also then at that point have a much better idea about whether or not we need to take every other rain chance down a little bit, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
So that's what we're looking ahead toward Mississippi Live Weather 10. Of course, we also want to just thank everyone who watches us for following along with us. iOS and Android apps, send in those weather photographs. We had a lot of great pictures coming in last night. Gabe will show a few of those coming up at 10 o'clock on Mississippi Live Weather, at some of the high clouds and the great stuff that we caught there. And we just appreciate everyone for sharing those. But yeah, get out this evening. There are some moments here at sunset. I took the kids on a car ride last night, my wife, and it was fantastic. So
where's my invite?
Well, next time we'll make room for you. There's only 4 good spots. You tell me which Law Pond kid kicked out, and we'll be okay. You would not fit in the back seat. Anyway, but in the palm of your hand is where that iPhone or Android app fits. And just thank you so much for all of you that have chosen to download that at this point here. We'll see you coming up live at 10.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.